877 3DP Show. Get some more phone calls coming up. Best and worst of the weekend. What you saw that you liked, you didn't like. Giants getting 7.5 at the Patriots coming up tonight. Hall of Fame coach Bill Cowher, NFL Today on CBS studio analyst. You grew up in the Pittsburgh area, but I was curious about the added pressure of coaching your team that you grew up with and not wanting, so there's enough pressure there, but now you're going to coach the Steelers. How much added pressure was there with that job title?
Well, I think when I first got the job, I told you, Dan, my first thought when I went back to Kansas City after I was offered the job, and I laid in bed that first night, and I said, wow, if I don't screw this up, I can go back to my 20th high school class reunion as the head coach of the town team. So my first goal was not to get fired in those first 3 years. But going back there during the course of that time, and just seeing what Chuck had done with that team and how the renaissance of the 70s, how it uplifted that whole city, it was almost a responsibility I had, but it's also like a connection that you had with the people that were there. And, I identified with the lunch pail, hardworking people, the blue collar element of it. I worked in steel mills. I always had a summertime job in Pittsburgh. So I understood what they were looking for. There's a very passionate fans, very knowledgeable fans about football. And so through the course of time, it was more of a responsibility I felt like I had to represent that city.
What do you make of the fire Mike Tomlin chants that we heard yesterday towards the tail end of that performance?
Well, like I said, they're very passionate fans. And I think it's, listen, where they are right now, they're 6-6. They've not played very good football these last, 2-5 in the last 7 games. So it's a scenario, but the fact of the matter is, we know with 5 games to go, they still have a chance to win their division. They're not trending in the right way, I think on either side of the ball. And going up against Baltimore Ravens now, they got them 2 more times. They got to still play the Detroit Lions, the Cleveland Browns, and also still got to play the Miami Dolphins. So we'll see what happens. I think, again, results will speak for themselves. But I think from Mike's standpoint, I know one thing. He's not going to let the outside noise influence or how he's going to change his approach to this next game. He knows it's a lot on stake. They're not playing great football right now. He's got to find a way to rally that group and get them to believe that they still have a chance to win this division.
Did you get fire chance when you were there in Pittsburgh?
I don't think I got a fire chance, but I think that I was, there was some people that when you had a losing year and you walk past them, people start to whisper before they say, "Hey, coach, great to see you." When they start whispering, Dan, it's probably not a good thing. So when you walk by and people are whispering, that's probably a good sign that things are not going that well. When they walk by and it's going well, they're going, "Hey, coach, great job, good luck. Hey, love what you're doing. Hey, you might want to throw the ball a little bit more. Okay, gotcha. You're right on." So I got to the point, actually, I said, my point is when we won, I had no problem stopping on the way home from getting gas. When we lost, I waited till the night was dark. It was around 10:30, 11. I went to the gas station. And I didn't want to hear about it, honestly, in the morning on the way to work. I didn't want to hear about everyone's because everybody would pull up right next to me. They would be acting like they're pulling up. Their gas tank was absolutely full. They wouldn't even put the nozzle in. They would stand there in front of their cars and tell me everything that I should be doing. We're not running the football enough. You're too conservative. We have no one's rushing the quarterback, and you need to make some changes on that team, and even with your coaching staff. And I would go, yes, 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 and yes. You're probably right. I need to reevaluate.
What kind of job offers or feelers did you get when you were with the Steelers? How often does that happen on an NFL level?
I never even entertained. I don't think it doesn't happen at all. I think when you're with a team like that, you're just trying to win year to year. My fear of failure far exceeded my desire to win. I did not want to fail and get fired. That was always over the top of my head, and I just knew results-oriented business. And if you didn't produce, you're going to be asked to move on because that's just the nature of that profession. So I understood that getting into that profession, but you never think about the next job. At least I didn't, from my standpoint. Again, I've been in one place for a long period of time, Dan. I was in Pittsburgh for 15 years. I've been in CBS for 19 years. I'm not the kind of guy that's looking for the grass being greener on the other side. I like to be appreciated, and if I'm appreciated, you're going to get the very best of me. And you know what? I appreciate being able to go to work while I am appreciated.
But it's standard procedure in college football now. Why is that?
I don't know. I go back. I think it's the lack of structure that the NCAA has right now in terms of these timetables, in terms of the pool, the transfer portal that takes place, allowing coaches to leave before they're in the end of their contracts to go to other places. It doesn't happen in the NFL. There's a very disciplined structure that we have. There's a salary cap. There's a time for free agency that happens afterwards. Head coaches aren't going to be able to go from one team to another because you're not even talking to another team. Now, the biggest thing in the NFL, to me, the problem that you have, if indeed it is, and I didn't think it was your assistants because at the end of a season and you're in the playoffs, the assistants have an opportunity to talk to other teams. But I always looked at that as a feather in your cap. And I always thought to him, because I know when I was getting interviewed at times, that you know what, my resume is being put on that table with that playoff game. So I was more inspired to do well in that playoff game as opposed to thinking about putting your staff together, thinking about what you're going to do, and your mind isn't on the game. I don't think that's the case. So I don't think we have that in the National Football League. I think the NCAA is really it's the wild, wild west. I've said that out there. I said it yesterday. Went on a little bit of a rant. It's just a problem for me is that the people that get lost in this are the players and the message we're sending to them, the lack of trust that they're going to start having in our institutions, in our systems. Because you know what? That's what we're going to lose. Because you're telling them one thing and you're doing another thing. And then the other part of that is the entitlement that we now are doing with young players. When a quarterback is making $4 million a year and the lineman that's up there has got a 4 year scholarship and is getting paid nothing. Okay. But because you know what? 1% of the people in college are going to play pro. Teach them life lessons about what business is like, going into the next level of life is about responsibility, having a job, working for someone, and having to MBS to a boss, and work your way up the ladder. Sometimes you're not going to get entitled to something because you think you decide a part of it. You may have to work for a long period of time to get that opportunity. There's nothing wrong with a good work ethic, a degree of saying, you know what, I'm going to compete for whatever I need to compete for because you know what, that will serve you better in life than being entitled and being handed something that really, to me, is they're too young to be given that kind of money.
If you were the Ole Miss athletic director and Lane Kiffin said to you, hey, I want to coach this team in the playoffs, you would have said,
You decided to go to LSU. Thank you and goodbye. What, to let you come here? Let you come here for the next month and talk about how great LSU is over Mississippi? You kidding me? Seriously? To even ask for that question is like that's arrogance. That's arrogance. I think what happened there is a disgrace to the coaching profession because I would just say this. The coaching profession is about developing young men. It's not about chasing the greener grass to somewhere else and being an ambulance chaser and go, oh, I can fix you. And then when you fix that, let me go here and fix that. It's about developing young men. It's about trying to create tradition, pageantry for the institution that you work for. We had rivalry weekend we just came off of. What's a rivalry anymore? What's a conference anymore? I'm telling you, we're losing some of the very core fiber of things that we have grown up loving about college football. And we're watching it deteriorate right before our eyes.
talking to Bill Cowher, the Hall of Famer and Super Bowl champ with the Steelers. Some of these teams we wrote off back in September, maybe in October, like the Texans, the Dolphins, the Niners with their injuries.
How about the Cowboys?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, they're dangerous. I don't know if they have enough time, but, you beat the Chiefs and the Eagles over a span of 4 days. You have to get everybody's attention there, Coach.
I would think so. And the job that Brian Schottenheimer has done through the course of everything that they've dealt with down there, and hey, I would love to see the Green Bay Packers and the Dallas Cowboys in the playoffs, okay? Because I want to know for once and for all, because they met once and it was a tie. Who was right, Micah Parsons or Jerry Jones? So get me into the playoffs where we can't end this thing in a tie.
Do you think they both won?
I do. I do. I didn't think, we sat there and criticized Jerry all this time for what he did, but I think going out and getting Quinton Williams, Overshawn came back, and Wilson came in, and all of a sudden now these last three games, this defense has taken on a different identity. Matt Eberflus said Jerry stayed with him. Brian has stayed with him. I think Brian has called an amazing offensive games week in and week out. The offense is playing at a very high level. I think they're playing with a lot of confidence. And I think the question is, as you stated, Dan, is that did they dig themselves too big of a hole? I don't know. But I know there's still 5 games left for these guys, and anything can happen because I think that it's really shrunk right now. The National Football League, their parity has never been greater. Every team that you think is on top, we saw the Rams get beat by Carolina. We saw last night the Denver Broncos get taken to overtime by the Washington Commanders. And who knows what's going to happen tonight with New England and the New York Giants. So I think the NFL is in a tremendous place from the standpoint that it's going to go down to the final weeks. And I think for the first time, we may have a 7 seed and maybe 2 7 seeds that could win in the wild card round.
Was it tough as a coach, tougher to understand your quarterback or the wide receivers that you had?
They go hand in hand. I think the wide receivers, I think the quarterback is going to touch the ball every game, every play. The wide receivers, you got to massage them a little bit because you want them to block for you. You want them to do the dirty work, but you better give them the ball a little bit too. So like trying to be able to keep people happy is like the job that I think of a coordinator to do, get a guy involved early, for the quarterback to do to make sure he can massage all the egos that's in that huddle that he's got. Because everybody wants to have the ball at the end of the game, and really the only one that's going to have the ball at the beginning of every play is going to be that quarterback. So
Quarterback.
I just think the quarterback becomes a reflection of the head coach at some point. And I
But
think
who
there was
drove you crazier, Ben or your wide receivers?
well, I didn't let the wide receiver, they didn't bother me. Ben drove me crazier because he had to be a reflection of me. Because he had to be a reflection of me, Dan. So that's what I'm
Well,
saying.
give me a for
I didn't worry,
instance, though.
I didn't worry about the wide receivers. Like they're gonna be mad. They're gonna say all these things. That's fine. I get it. They know they want the ball. They want it for all the right reasons. But the quarterback, like you guys think like me. So that and so it's like that's the one. And at times, I gotta let them be them too. So that's that little fine line of give and take, And that's the guy that's got to be a reflection of you. I think there's no greater example of that, and you're seeing Bo Nix and Sean Payton. I think they are working hand in hand, and Sean appreciates Bo, but I'm sure Sean wants to stay on Bo to try to get him to be able to be that toughlin guy that's going to be really good in the tough situations. And so it's kind of fun to watch these young quarterbacks evolve with their coaches.
I thought it was funny. You told the story where Ben acted look like he couldn't hear you when you were
Oh
calling in a
yeah, yeah,
play.
yeah, yeah, yeah. He starts pounding. I'm thinking, I know he can hear us. I know he can hear us. So I said, grab that, and he goes. I said, grab that helmet as soon as he comes off that field. And they grab the helmet. They says, they go, it's working now. And I go, Ben, it's working. He goes, I must have just came back on.
Well, he was good enough that he could still do that to you.
Yes, yes. I mean, we would have the banter back and forth, and it was respectful banter. He always knew where I stood, and I always appreciated where he was at. Didn't always agree with it at times, but you know what? You earn the right to have that ability, to have that input, to have that respect. The one thing I knew about Ben Roethlisberger, that when the game was on the line and it was in the fourth quarter, he wanted the ball in his hands. And you know what? There was probably no other player that I would have wanted to have the ball in their hands than him.
When was the last time you didn't have a mustache?
Good question. I shaved it. Went down to Bald Head Island one time, like my fourth year, and I said, you know what? Everyone's recognizing me down here, so I shaved it. And I'm telling you, it was the best thing in the world. I'd be walking by people, and they're like, I mean, hey, I'm like they go, hey, Coach Cowher's on this island. I go, really? Where's he at? I go, so it was, it's been a while. It's been a while. It's not a good
Well,
look. At least for me right now. It's not a good look.
but did you have bust approval for the Hall of Fame for your mustache?
Yeah. wow,
Okay.
that wasn't even an option. I mean, it had to be that because how would you even
Did they
recognize?
show it to you before?
Yes, there was
Okay.
that, and they kind of I think they accentuated the chin a little bit. I don't think it's that bad, but they accentuated that too, which was, I I don't know if I agree with that portrait of it, but that's fine.
Did your wife have a say in this?
Yeah, I think when I shaved it, the first thing she said, "Please don't shave again." So in other words, how long is it going to take to grow back? So, I think that was my first sign that you know what, okay, maybe it's not a good look.
Yeah, it's not leaving. Not leaving.
Oh,
Great to talk to you. And we played nice today. Look at that.
I know.
Hey,
Well, you know what? I think coming off the what happened yesterday. But let me ask you, did you have a nice Thanksgiving?
it's still going on, Coach. It's not a day. It's really a spirit that I have.
Yeah. Well, so let me ask you, what do you think was the best game? What do you think was the best game over Thanksgiving weekend with the NFL? Green Bay, Detroit, Dallas, Kansas City, Cincinnati, Joe Burrow, Baltimore, or Eagles and Bears?
I would say Dallas and Kansas City because that's a heavyweight fight, and the hype involved with that, and it lived up to it. And Dallas winning that game, I thought made for great content. I think Joe Burrow coming back and doing what he did
Great.
against the Ravens, that's pretty big. And now you got Steelers and the Ravens coming up this next weekend.
Can you imagine if the 4-8 Bengals get Joe Burrow back? They can still win the division. They
I
really
know.
can.
Yeah,
Now they
I
got to
know.
go to Buffalo this
Yeah.
next week, so we'll see. The NFL has never been so much intrigue, so many storylines. It's never been better. So let's talk again in about a month and see who's still in it.
Okay. Yeah, I'll make it a date.
Okay, that sounds good. Well, I'm
Thank you,
glad
Coach.
keep the spirit going because you were really good today. You were actually trying to get me ask some really good questions. It was really good.
Yeah, I wasn't going to I was going to be nice. I was going to play
Yeah,
nice, but I can't
thank
guarantee
you.
in a month from now.
No, I totally expect it. I never come on with the expectation of you being nice. I prepare
Thank you.
myself in the mornings.
I'll bet you do. You psych yourself up to come on,
Oh,
stare at
yeah.
yourself in the mirror.
I
Yeah.
look like I look at you like a divisional opponent. I make it personal.
Would you want to hit me, like tackle me?
No, no, I respect you. No,
Like a forearm shiver?
well, no, just I would probably bump you if I passed you.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. If you got like if we're walking down the same one, would you turn? Would you like be the one that gets out of the way if we're coming down the same path? Like I most of the time I would, but I think I would get out of the way of you because I respect you. But if you mumbled something on the way past me, I'd probably. If you start whispering, because I know if you're whispering, you're saying something. All right.
Thank you, Coach.
All right. Thanks, Dan.
Thank you. That's Bill Cowher. Bill, it's Bill Cowher, by the way, right there. That's him. That's the guy. Yeah, Marvin said, "Are you going to play nice with Coach Cowher?" Yeah. I mean, if we're in the same room, maybe not. No, I would definitely be on my best behavior.